back to the CollegeAdvisor.com YouTube channel, where we are your personal college advisors. My name is Finn.
And I'm Ramona, and today we're going to be talking about how to create a list of schools you want to apply to from scratch. So Finn, can you start us off?
So for the freshmen and sophomores watching, you guys can already begin doing your school search. But really, kind of informally, what you want to be doing is you want to be kind of figuring out what schools you're interested in, what kinds of things you're interested in schools, maybe go on some school tours and get on some emailing lists, but nothing more formal than that. The real work begins in junior year, specifically around the junior spring, maybe a little bit earlier than that, which is where you kind of want to develop a list of 20 to 30 schools for preliminary research. Here at CollegeAdvisor, that's what I definitely help my students with. I'll give them a list and be like, hey, there you go. And I ask them to do more research, which we'll touch on later on. But you have that list of schools that you can kind of really do a deep dive on and figure out if you're interested in them or if they're not that interesting to you. And ideally, you want to kind of narrow that down by the end of the summer. You don't need to have anything finalized by then necessarily, but you want to have it, you want to have a good sense of kind of where you're thinking of applying by then.
Mm-hmm. And you may be watching this how do I come up with 20 to 30 schools? I don't even know 20 to 30 schools, because I definitely didn't. But there are some ways that you can just get started in researching colleges, since I know a lot of people watching this might be like, I don't even know what I don't even know. But one of the best tools I found when I was in high school was this, it's through the College Board actually. So as much as we have a difficult relationship with the College Board since they administer all of our tests, they have this amazing tool called Big Future. It's a database of over 3,000 schools, and it's a search engine just for college. So Google just for college, but it's really cool because you can filter by things that you didn't even think you could filter by. You can filter by where it's located, its social life, what clubs they have. So you can just be like, I want to see schools that have equestrian clubs, and it'll only give you schools with equestrian clubs. Or you can be like, I want schools without a majority Greek life. Anyway, so it'll just show you these things, and that's how you can learn some names of schools. And once you get those names down, they'll tell you this is the breakdown of the majors that this entire school offers. This is the average financial aid package. This is the average blah 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 of the student. But once you have that kind of general concept and you at least know a name of the school, that's when you take the name of the school that you're interested in and you take it to YouTube and you watch a vlog, or you take it to Reddit and you ask about the cons of the school. Because as much as you want to find something you you need to make sure that you're also managing your expectations and making sure that there are parts that you don't like as well, so you're familiar with them. And then I just want to add, yes, you're researching your education and your school, so it's important to look for things that are oh, I'm really interested in going into computer science, so I want to find a school that's good at computer science. As important as that is, remember when you're researching that this is your home for 4 years, so there's so many other things that are really important to you. For me, it was I do not want to be somewhere rural for 4 years. I don't care how good the program is, I as a person just cannot function for 4 years in a rural environment. If you know you want to go into entertainment and you're there are clearly more entertainment opportunities in LA, in New York, then you need to think about do I want to be near that so I can get jobs through my school's programs, because they're likelier to have a better relationship with the area because that's the school there. And so there are just so many things to think about. But there's also something known as directed research, which I will pass to Fit.
Yeah. So, generally, I would say, when you have that list of 20 to 30 schools, one of the way in which you narrow that down, right, because that's also a seemingly Herculean task, is, to figure out, okay, which schools are we actually interested in, which schools kind of suck, it's a hard thing to kind of figure that out. And so something that I work on with my students is I kind of identify with them the top priorities in a school, and then I make sure that they know those programs inside and out. And as you spend the time getting to know the programs, the social life, all of these things that Mona talked about, and really diving into the school's specific resources, those vlogs, all of that stuff, you'll start to realize which schools are interesting and which schools are not so interesting. Because really, you might be in love with a school, and then you read that there are 100,000 students every single year. I mean, I don't know, but and you're like, oh, well, that's maybe a little overwhelming because that's like a small country.
That's like a small
and you're like, a small country. I don't know.
Actually,
there are no schools that are $100,000 freshmen every year, so I'm just making that up. That being said, like, I know it's very easy for us to tell you, like, do the directed research, and you to be like, yeah, I'll do it, and then you don't. Do the research. Do your directed research, right? Like, that is
literally,
the research
like,
is
yes,
so important.
Yes.
And like,
it starts with an interest. Like, you can just be
Exactly.
like, oh, I really want to go into design. Then you literally just Google design schools, and then
Yeah.
it'll give you like a list. And there's also blogs on our like CollegeAdvisor blogs about it, but it'll literally give you a list of like 10 schools in design, and it'll be like Parsons, SCAD, like CalArts, and then you look up Parsons and you're like, oh, more fashion, but like SCAD is more for like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then that's when you narrow it down. So just Google, and also use these other great tools.
Ultimately, like, if you don't do that research, like, you very well may find yourself on a campus and realize that you hate it, and then end up transferring, or like just don't enjoy your college experience. So like, I feel like we spend a lot of time like talking about making yourself the best applicant that you can be, but it's so, it's two sides of one coin, right? It's as important to be a good applicant as to know where you're applying and to be very intimately familiar with those schools.
Yes,
So,
yes.
spend that time.
That is so good. Like, it's like when you go into interviews, it's like while they are interviewing you, you are interviewing them. Like, for anything, so important. So important. Okay, so now that you have had hopefully your 20 to 30 or a bunch of list of schools, you want to narrow it down, and by like late junior summer, so basically early senior year, you want to have this list finalized. I would say the latest is maybe mid-September, but obviously, like, up until the deadlines come, you can technically still add and remove colleges, but you still, like, want to have narrowed it down to between 8 and 12 schools, typically no more than 15. I think I applied to 14 colleges just for frame of reference, but yeah, you want to sort of finalize it this early because those first deadlines, and we'll make a video about this, come up, like, the earliest deadline is November 1st. They come so fast. But your finalized list should be obviously, like, a list that you're very happy with based on whether it's, those factors we talked about, whether it's like you're very happy with like the social life, the location, the programs they offer, your ability to pay, etc. But the most important balance is your ability to get in. So what I mean by this is you don't want 12 schools that are all like you don't want to be like, I have my school list and it's like the 9 Ivy Leagues. Wait, are there 8 Ivy Leagues or
There are
9?
8 Ivy Leagues.
Ah! So you don't want to be like, I have 8 schools and it's like the 8 Ivy Leagues plus Stanford. So I guess you'd have 9 schools. Oh my god, math is not my strong point. Anyways, you get my point. You don't want to have like 8 really difficult schools to get into as like your final list. You want to have a balance between what's called safety, match, and reach schools. And so I'm going to pass it to Finn to explain like what these terms sort of mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So safety schools are schools that you have a pretty darn good chance of getting into. And that's like 80% or higher, right? If you're applying to 2 safety schools, you want to be able to get into both of them realistically. Like, that's why they're safety. That being said, like, don't apply to safety schools that you wouldn't actually be interested in going to. There are anomalies in the college admissions process. Sometimes students don't get into. One of my good friends from high school did not get into any single school that she wanted except for her safeties. And so, she's really happy actually at her safeties. At one of her safeties, but like, if you don't apply to safeties that you're genuinely interested in, right? Like, do that research for your safety schools. Then you could find yourself, kind of stuck with a school that you're just like not excited about, and no one wants to be in that position, right? No one wants to be in that position.
And so just because the school, and just because the school has like an 80% acceptance rate doesn't mean it's a bad school. Like, you can be so happy with your safety schools, and also typically I think safety schools would be like your state university, or for me it was like their bordering like states that offer in-state tuition that have like great programs. So like those were safety, since they typically tend to accept people from the area more and they're affordable. But yeah, you have to be happy with it, and just because it has a higher than 80% acceptance rate doesn't mean that it's not a good college. That's like so important.
The other thing is that safety schools can be really useful for like merit aid. So if you have a high SAT score, for example, that's a great way to just get like financial aid and financial support. So that's another like thing to keep in mind with safeties. If you find out that your reach school, your dream school becomes too expensive, having a safety can be really helpful because those are oftentimes, ways in which you can get additional support. So that's another, one of the important things. For your match, also known as your target schools, these are schools for which you are about on par with the average student who's accepted, both in terms of grades, extracurriculars, scores, so on and so forth. And so, if you're applying to 5 of these schools, you want to be able to get into 3 of them, right? So you don't need to get into every single map school. College admissions are fickle. Like, you might not get into your dream school, you might not get into some of your match schools, and that's okay, right? It's not necessarily a reflection on you even, it's a reflection on like what the school needs and what the school is looking for. But, you want to have a reasonable chance, a slightly better than average chance of getting into one of your match schools. So with the match schools, one of the things that's really important is fit. So making sure that it's the right school for you. With the safety schools, it's okay if it's not the perfect school for you, but really with these match schools, you want that to be, the school, because these are the list of schools that you're probably most likely to be attending. And so, if you have a list of like match or target schools that you're just not that excited about, what's the whole point, right? These are the schools that you really want to be jazzed about, because they are super important, and have the potential to be really exciting as well. Mm-hmm. And then finally, you have your reach school. And so if you apply to like 5 reach schools, you want to be able to get into about 1, right? So again, this is something where the odds are maybe a little bit more stacked against you, but if you have a dream school, if there's a school that you're really, really excited about, that is a reach school. You want to have a not impossible chance of getting into your reach schools. So, it wants to be a school that maybe you're under in the academics, maybe you're under in the SATs or the extracurriculars, but still you're not a whole world away in terms of like your statistics versus the statistics of the school. We'll talk more about chancing a little bit later. But you want to be able to reasonably get in is the bottom line. For certain schools like Ivy Leagues, Stanford, MIT, that kind of genre of school, those are reach schools for everyone, no matter if you've cured cancer or if you have a 1600 on your SAT, these are still reach schools for everybody. And so that's another thing to keep in mind with making your college list. And moreover, that like 1 in 5 rule does not apply to Ivies, because it's easy to apply to all of them and not get into a single one. Again, because they're looking for very, very specific things which change from year to year.
But a lot of there are several people I've met at Harvard who are like, I never thought I'd get in. Like, I just applied on a whim, because they're just, you never know, since what they're looking for, it's like so like niche, and like you probably have an amazing personality, or I hope you do. So the whole, like when Finn was saying like not impossible to get into, I also think like that kind of applies, that rule doesn't really apply to like these schools, because they're like separate, and like what they search for is like very intangible. So everyone has a shot, but like, I don't know if I phrased that right, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's also like you have no idea where your essay stands relative to others, and you have no idea if you're applying for a major that they need students for, and you have no idea what's written in your letters of recommendation, right? So there are a lot of factors that you can't control or like normalize for. So, you might as well just like shoot your shot and hope, and if you get in, that's wonderful, and if you don't, that's okay, right? You still have all of these wonderful target schools / match schools that you can go to, but apply to those reach.
Mm-hmm. Apply to reach. Yeah.
Within that, so you kind of want to like think about list balance, right, between safety, match, and target school, or safety, match, and reach schools. And so if you might be applying to 2 safeties, 25% safeties, 4 matches, 50% matches, and 2 reach schools, so 25% reach schools, for a total of 8 schools, which is a really reasonable, wonderful number. Certain people find that a little bit too restricting, so maybe you apply to 2 safeties, 5 matches, and 5 reaches, or maybe you do 2 safeties, 2 matches, and the rest of them are reaches, right? If you want to apply to every single Ivy League school.
I think I did that. Not
Wait,
every
that's
single
so
Ivy League, though.
funny.
I don't remember. I'll have to look. I think a lot of them were like
Wow.
reach.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's okay, right? You can do that. The one hard line that we are your personal college advisors, and we are telling you that you just have to apply to safety schools. You have to apply to safety schools, because if you don't, and you don't get in to your reach schools or your dream school, which might happen, and then you are in trouble, right? Like, what do you do in that case? You take a year off, you like figure it out, but like, you don't want to do that. Apply to safety schools. Apply to safety schools that you're genuinely interested in, and don't like put all of your eggs in one basket. That is all. That is the PSA. That is the lecture.
That is PSA. Do not omit your safeties. Do not. And if you do, there's options. Like, you can always like attend your local community college for a year and then transfer to a school. But like, don't omit your safeties. Make it easier on yourself. And the way that you don't omit them is to just find safeties you're excited about. So if you're like, I don't want to go to my state school because I hate everyone from high school. Me too. Same. Y'all know who you are. That's why you apply to like the neighboring states schools. Like, if that's what you're into. I don't know. But yeah, I guess to this end, we're gonna kind of wrap up this video to say, like, manage your expectations. You may be watching this video being like, oh, I need to go to a top 20 school. Like, I need to go to an Ivy League. And it's like, schools all have their own strengths. Like, if you look up top 20 schools, that list is going to look vastly different from if you look up top schools with the like top best like biomedical engineering programs, because the best college, like, we go to Harvard, and Finn and I are telling you, like, we are art majors at Harvard, and like, would we have chosen Harvard had we known that like we wanted to be artistes? Like, Harvard is one of the best colleges, but it's not necessarily in the list of like best like schools for our interest in our programs, and when it comes to like our majors and things like that.
I feel like also, moreover, right, like, at the end of the day, you are who you are, right? And the college that you go to doesn't change that or define that, right? You change and grow as a person in college, but like, you're going to do that anywhere. And you might not change and grow in the same ways, but like, that intrinsic core is like still the same. And so if you are going to like make a difference with your life, and you have these ambitions, you have these goals, the college that you go to doesn't change that.
That's right? Oh my God, that is
you
so
don't need
important.
to go to Harvard to you change the world, right?
And you can very well go to Harvard and not change the world.
Like, yeah, exactly. Right? If that's not in the cards for you,
experience.
which is okay, right? Like,
Which
that's
is
not
okay.
in the cards for you. Thanks so much for making it to the end. We're here to stay, so subscribe, get comfy, and come vibe with us.
If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below, and Finn and I will do our best to answer them in the next videos. We also have a series of free webinars and blogs related to applying to colleges that are all linked down below as well. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Join College Advisor for more exclusive updates. Also, check out the free College Advisor app at app.collegeadvisor.com that helps you keep track of all of your applications and deadlines.
Bye!